Okay, so today's video is going to be a review of classifying triangles. We're going to go over the triangle inequality theorem, which answers our question, how do I know if given side lengths make a triangle? And then the last question, how do I find the range of values for the third side of a triangle given the other two side lengths? So make sure you have all three of those down in your journal. So the first thing we're going to do is review how to classify a triangle. So you can classify it by its angles. So you can classify it as acute if it has 3 acute angles. You can classify it as right if it has 1 right angle. You can classify it as obtuse if it has 1 obtuse angle. And you can classify it as equiangular if it has all 3 angles that are congruent. Secondly, you could classify it by its sides. You could classify it isosceles, which means it has 2 congruent sides. Scalene, which means it has no congruent sides, or equilateral, which means all 3 sides are congruent. Equilateral and equiangular are going to go together. If it's equiangular, it's also equilateral. So let's go ahead and fill in our sentence here for the triangle inequality theorem. So this is what we did with the sticks in class. We found that A plus B had to be greater than C. That is the triangle inequality theorem. So in a sentence, it's the sum of the lengths of the 2 smaller sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side, or the longest side. So remember that C is always the longest side. And so we're going to use that in our examples. So for example number 1, I have A plus B has to be greater than C. So I know that 5 is my largest side, so that's going to be my C value. And then 1 and 2 are A and B. So I don't know if it's greater than, less than, or equal to yet. 1 plus 2 is 3. So now I know that 5 is obviously greater than 3. So no, this does not make a triangle. So let's look at number 2. It's the same question, but now we have some different side lengths with fractions. So in order to compare with these fractions, we're going to need to find a common denominator between 2, 5, and 3. So a common denominator between 2 and 5 would be 10. A common denominator between 5 and 3 would be 15. But since I have to do all 3, I'm going to use 30 as my common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite 1/2 as 15 over 30. And then I'm going to rewrite 2/5 as 12 over 30. And I'm going to rewrite 2/3 as 20 over 30. So since they all have the same denominator, I can now add them and compare. So 15 plus 12 is 27 over 30, which is greater than the 20 over 30 we have for our third side. So yes, this one does make a triangle using the triangle inequality theorem. So now we're going to use the triangle inequality theorem to help us find the range of values for the third side. So in this case, we're given a triangle has 2 sides of 10 and 15, and we're trying to find what that other side could be. So remember that A plus B has to be greater than C. And I'm going to switch colors here. So A plus B has to be greater than C. We have 10 and 15. I don't know if 10 is A, if 10 is B, or 10 is C. Or if 15 is A, 15 is B, 15 is C. So we're going to plug them in our 3 different cases and see which ones work. So first I'm going to say, well, maybe 10 and 15 are A and B, and they have to be greater than this third side. So 10 plus 15 is 25. So it's telling me that it's got to be less than 25. Now, what if 10 was A, but I didn't know what B was, and C was 15? This would be a different case. So to solve that, I would subtract 10 on both sides, and I get x is greater than 5. So it's telling me it has to be greater than 5, but less than 15. In case 3, we would say 10 is C, so it would look something like 15 plus x is greater than 10. But I already know that 15 is greater than 10, and so technically 15 can't be A or B. It has to be C for that one. So just to show you that that doesn't make sense, I'll just continue working this one. And you get x is greater than -5. Well, of course it has to be greater than -5. It's got to be greater than 5 like it's stated here. So when we write our inequality, x has to be greater than 5 but less than 25. So any side greater than 5 but less than 25 would make a triangle with our two given sides 10 and 15. So we're going to try it again, see what happens. We have our side lengths of 9 and 21. So we're going to plug that in again and see what we get. So remember, A plus B has to be greater than C. And I'm going to change colors just so we can see. So I could say 9 was A and 21 was C, and they've got to be greater than this third side. So 9 plus 21 is 30. So it's saying X has to be less than 30. And then I could say 9 plus X has to be greater than 21. I could say that C was 21 and subtract the 9. So that would give me X is 12. And I don't want to switch and put 21 as A because I know that it has to be C or B as long as 9 is A, because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. So it's telling me the range of values here is from 12 to 30. So 12 to 30. Anything from 13 really to 29 would make sense for this example. So hope you have these in your journal. Bring them to class next time.